Welcome to the Climb Podcast, where we are diving into taboo topics and redefining the rules for women of color leaders. Get ready as we share the stories and amplify the voices of extraordinary women of color, from navigating workplace challenges to celebrating triumphs. On this podcast, we've got you covered. So buckle up and join us as we embark on today's empowering journey. The Climb Podcast, where we empower women of color in the pursuit of leadership and managerial roles. I'm your host, Felicia Smith, the founder of The Climb, a 501c3 organization that's committed to increasing the number of women of color in leadership and managerial positions. And each week, we dive into topics that have been mystified and give you the practical, the real, and the relevant. So if you listen to last week's podcast, we talked about transitions of life and going through changes. And the week before that, we talked about financial pieces and how you get your money, done. I'm gonna say get your money right because we're going through all of this uncertainty. And this week, we're diving into a topic that a lot of people don't talk about when it comes to pursuing leadership and managerial positions. The truth of the matter is it's not for everyone. Being in corporate or nonprofit spaces is not for everyone. Sometimes you find that those spaces are more hurtful than helpful. And in those times, a lot of people are thinking, hey, what would it look like if I moved from a 9 to 5 to entrepreneurship? And it's more than a notion. It's certainly you can absolutely do it, but it's more than a notion. So I wanted to bring someone on the podcast who has made that transition, who can provide you a little bit more insight on if you're thinking about making that transition, what it looks like. So we have a special guest today. We have Dr. Cristi Alyse Haygood. Dr. Cristi, what's going on?
Hey, girl. Hey. I made it,
So
y'all.
Dr. Cristi, before I read her bio, is my best friend. We've been knowing each other for, 22 years.
Wow.
That's a long time. We're not, Cristi, going to tell any stories today about how we met. We're going to leave all of those up for interpretation. But today we're covering the topic in particular, leaving the 9 to 5, transitioning to entrepreneurship, what to consider before making the leap. So before we get started, we always give all of our guests all of their things. And so we're going to read her bio so you can learn a little bit about her. Dr. Cristi Haygood is the CEO of Alyse and is a trailblazer in executive leadership and productivity strategy, specializing in engineering management and value engineering techniques. She transforms technical professionals into dynamic leaders, fostering innovation in high-performing teams. With a clear-cut approach, cultivate clarity, challenge norms, consistently execute and optimize. Dr. Cristi empowers leaders with proven system to enhance behaviors, boost productivity, and ensure peak performance. Her expertise guarantees consistent achievement of key performance indicators, creating value without compromising team morale, product quality, or time to market. Dr. Cristi offers services in business operations, management consulting, productivity and performance coaching, engineering services, team building, and is a sought-after keynote speaker and workshop facilitators. She offers all the things, y'all. Drawing on over 17 years of experience, including Raytheon in both missile systems and integrated defense systems, UTC carrier, elevator systems engineering, and refrigeration engineering division, and most recently as the former global director of value and component engineering at Honeywell. Dr. Cristi has become a respected figure in the industry. Now, after reading all of that, you might know why she's a respected figure in the industry. She holds a bachelor's in science and mechanical engineer from where we all know Tuskegee University. Now, if you've been listening to this podcast, you know I have an affinity for Tuskegee, and I'm going to bring all the Tuskegee people over to the Climb, right? Because we're amazing people. But that's not, I know, that's not all. She has an MBA from the University of Phoenix and a dual postgraduate degrees from George Washington University, which is a Master's of Science in Engineering Management and a Doctor of Engineering degree. Dr. Cristi has numerous credentials, including the Leadership Challenge, Certified Practitioner, Demonstrated Master Logistician, DML, Earned Value Management System certification, and several Lean Six Sigma certifications. A committed advocate, professional development, and making a social impact, Dr. Cristi holds a distinguished role as a lifetime member of the National Society of Black Engineers, NSBE. Her journey with NSBE began in 1998 when she joined her high school chapter. Ooh, girl, you're gonna be trying to tell your age. And she's currently contributes a valued member of the Atlanta Professionals chapter, serving as a professional development chair. Additionally, Dr. Cristi plays a key role on the NSBE Entrepreneurship SIG board as communications director. She was honored by NSBE as the 2025 Lifetime Member of the Year and with the 2025 Entrepreneurship SIG Outstanding Service Award. In her altruistic pursuits, she dedicates her spare time to serving as a STEM mentor at local schools and conducting technical and management professional development workshops. Driven by her passion for community engagement, she actively participates in various organizations, including Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority, the Society of Women Engineers, American Society of Engineering Management, the International Society of Value Engineers, and the Project Management Institute. Alongside her professional achievements, Dr. Cristi's involvement in the STEAM's organizations highlights her commitment to fostering growth, diversity, excellence within the field of STEM and leadership. Amazing bio. Although you told everyone how old we were, I'm not quite sure how I feel about that. Don't do the math, guys. Please don't do the math.
It's every day above ground is a blessing because we are living in the overflow. And
that is true. That is true. But now all the secrets out. So, Dr. Cristi, let's start off by you telling your story of when you transitioned. So let's tell us a little bit about your story about how you got to the place of being the CEO of Alyse Innovations.
Okay, so if we back up, maybe over 10 years ago, right? I had an idea about wanting to start my own consulting firm. But at the time, the timing just didn't seem right. I had just moved from New England back to the South. And I had started a new role. I was working 60 hours a week. I was working on, at that time, I think the second master's. I forget, after 4 degrees, you just kind of forget which degree you're working on. And timing just didn't seem right, but it always stayed with me, particularly because I knew I wanted my consultant to somehow encapsulate working with technical professionals in a professional development type way, whether that would be improving leadership, productivity, and performance, or that would be improving their technical skills. But that was always the niche I saw myself in. And the roles that I had been in leading up to that point, as well as subsequently after that point, all kind of pushed me to this direction. So back up 10 years and then jump forward probably 5 years. I had been promoted to associate director at one of the corporations I was at, and I started working more cross business, whether I had previously worked cross-functionally. And I started thinking, this really is a business, what I'm doing. Like, I spend most of my time, I'm not in the lab anymore. I'm not doing the design work anymore. I spend most of my time trying to get technical professionals across different organizations, different teams, and now different organizations within a corporation, just to be able to work better together, right? I'm doing process improvement. I'm doing strategy. I'm doing implementation plans. I'm doing very high level PMO work. And I said, this is something that other people, I'm sure, would pay me for. And what really made me think this could be a business is that I was getting good results. So at that time, I had been working in what we would call engineering productivity or engineering cost reduction for about, I guess, 3 or 4 years at that point. And the main goal of working in engineering cost reduction is to reduce costs in parts or subsystems or systems, but do it without sacrificing the quality of the part and how the part functions. So whether that means identifying alternate suppliers you can get certain materials from, or when we're putting in upgrades or designing in upgrades in this system, how do we figure out how to design it in a way where we don't drive the cost to make the part up, so therefore we don't drive the cost up. And having that experience give me very high visibility, not just on the engineering side, but also to the business, and understanding how like a P&L works and how the money inside a corporation works. I was like, ooh, yes, I can do this. And I mean, within the first 4 or 5 years in that role, I was able to take a group from barely making a meal or two a year to now we're making 5 million plus every year doing cost reduction, right? On maybe 4 different product lines, maybe roughly almost 100,000, volume units, right? And then when I then got promoted and went to another corporation and became a global engineering director, and then it was like, boom, okay, I got my own org, I'm running my own ship. How do I take what I did before and amplify it? And as I was doing that and getting success, I mean, in 22 months, we made over $30 million. I mean, come on, somebody. Like,
wow, come
people
on.
barely
Two
achieving.
snaps.
Right. Okay. Like my predecessors barely getting 10 million a year. And here I am, first year coming out the gate, 12 million, second year coming out the gate. They gave me like a stretch goal and I exceeded it by over almost $5 million, and all I did with it, because we didn't sell stuff for more, but what I had to do is get an organization of people across 10 different countries who didn't all speak the same language, right? Certainly didn't work in the same time zone. Now I was working from 4 a.m. to like midnight.
Yeah.
Remember those days?
Yep. Yeah.
In 60-hour weeks, but trying to get them to, one, understand what the vision for the org was, what that vision then looked like at their team level, and then at their individual contributor level, what their piece of that vision was, so that the buy-in starts there. And once you do that, I was able to motivate them to hit goals, motivate them to do things that normally they wouldn't even thought about doing. And that's when I said to myself, okay, this is something that I could replicate. Because now I've done it at 2 different corporations on an increasing scale. And I'm like, somebody will pay me to do this for them. And at the same time, things were going on within the corporation that I was like, woo, my spirit said, whoa, 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 whoa. I'm getting too old. Shenanigans, okay? It's all shenanigans. And I started working with a business coach who one day I just happened to find. Like, it's one of those things how it's a God wink, because it's not even something you're looking for. And I happened to find them on social media. I think it might have been LinkedIn. And I connected with her, joined her program, and everything that I had been kind of jotting down over the years, she really helped me package it and helped me kind of sense of it. And
Yeah.
and I was still working my corporate gig, 60-hour weeks, looking a mess, not sleeping. And then I said, a point came, right? Where I was like, you know what? If I'm ever gonna bet on myself, now's the time to do it. Because if I
Got
felt
it.
like I started getting that feeling that if I don't do it now, it'll never happen.
Yeah. I love that. So when people, you said a couple of good things. You said, number one, you wanted to bet on yourself, and you really set kind of the platform, for better term, the platform before you moved over. So, you know, talk a little bit about how a person decides, or what's like, we talk about understanding your why and evaluating your readiness. What are some tips you would give somebody on doing those things? Your passion, and are you really ready?
Yeah, I think so I would say your why, kind of look at it almost 5 prongs. So first, really dig into what is it that you would do if nobody paid you to do it. I mean, that
That's
sounds
good.
simple, but that's really what it is, because there are going to be some times in your entrepreneurship journey where literally the only thing that keeps you, at the wheel turning is like, this is something I really want to do. This is something I wake up thinking about. and let that be the burning desire that motivates you. So that's number one. Number two is, who do you want to serve? You know, whether you t-shirt man on the street, you selling mixtapes, you selling, you know, services, you are the product, you know, or whatnot, whatever you're doing, who are you trying to help and why do you want to help them? Because it can't just be a vanity project. Because I knew I was the baddest chick in corporate. I could stay there and did that. You know, I didn't need to jump, certainly didn't need to jump into entrepreneurship for any kind of vanity thing, right? Because it just don't work like that. And it certainly, as time go on and the environment you're in changes, vanity projects fade away very quickly.
Yeah, absolutely.
So who do you want to serve? Why do you want to serve them? And then what your zone of genius is. Like, there is something unique about whatever you want to do.
Gary Hendricks, come on, Gary.
Listen, she introduced me to that book, y'all. We're not gonna talk about how she beat us across the head with that book club, but it's really true though. It's really true, because a lot of times and as I've been networking and stuff and meeting so many different entrepreneurs out there who are either doing it as a side hustle or this is a full-time thing, some people are really struggling, not because of the reasons everybody's struggling now, but because they're mixed matched with what they're trying to do. And it's almost like you're fighting upstream against a heavy current, because it's like, if your skill set is for example, data analytics, and you're really, really good at that, but you really don't like being and interacting with people and being the client-facing person, then why is your business a client-facing business where you have to be?
That's good.
You know what I mean? So it's
Yeah,
like,
that's good.
you really got to know what your zone of genius is and try to identify a niche that you can make money with that is in alignment with that. You know, not saying that you got to change who you are, but you got to be in alignment. And only you can say what alignment looks like for you. So definitely those things. And then just other things with just finding your why is just like figuring out how much you need, what in terms of to take care of yourself, how much you need to quote unquote be successful. Like some metrics people use is they want to replace their salary, you know, whatever their previous salary were. Some people use a metric but of, you know, like $1 million a year. I personally am a little different. Although my business itself has financial metrics that I want to meet, you know, monthly, quarterly, annually, me as Cristi Alyse Haygood, you know, as an individual, I personally find my measure of success is are my mortgages paid and are the lights on? Because if the mortgage is paid and the lights are on, everything else, you know what I'm saying? Like everything else is good. And the reason I say that because especially when you're first starting out, it's so important for you not to be chasing the money.
That's good. Yeah.
Money is not, you know, I call it like IG entrepreneurship. You know, IG entrepreneurship will have you thinking everybody gets their LLC on Monday, and by Friday, they all are making 6 figures. By the end of the month, we all millionaires. And that is not the case at all.
Facts. Yeah.
Definitely understand what your measurement of success is for you personally when you're first starting out. And then you could always, you know, you always need to have one for your business, but at the core, at your core, what is your personal measurement of success? And
Love it. Love it.
Great.
Love it. So what are your thoughts? So we're talking about entrepreneurship, and you talked about the in-between of still working your job before you actually went into it full time. Yeah. So this gets into all the realm of the side hustle. And how do you know when it's no longer a side hustle and it needs to be a business? Side hustle versus business. How do you know when when you can go from that to a business?
Well, let me say this. I think academically, the quote unquote experts will say once you've made X amount of dollars in your business, it's time to take it from a side hustle to its own thing. Now, I think that's a point of privilege to say that, because sometimes life dictates to you, you got to make a move, right? And knowing that, you know, of course, have some financial footing, some financial foundation, especially if, you know, you like me, you your own backup plan, right? So, but I would say for me, yes, I was working on my business before. And when I say working on it, I was working on it and then got my LLC and was working on it. when I was still in my corporate gig, but because of what my business is, and I'm the face of my business, and then also the position that I held at that time, right? I didn't want there to be any kind of potential conflict of interest for
Yeah.
me. So when I knew it was time, I knew it was time for me to leave corporate because some things were going on that just wasn't right with my spirit. And I had reached a point in my career where I really was living in the overflow. When I first started out as an engineer, I honestly thought if I get to be a team lead one day, then I'll count that as a good career, because as a Black woman in engineering, and not just a Black woman, but still a Black woman in engineering, we're less than 2% of the total engineering population in this country. You don't see a lot of us in leadership, nonetheless, getting up to, the global director level, right? So I was already living in the overflow as far as I'm concerned. I also had already, I guess, proven to myself that I was as good as I knew I was. I didn't really care what anybody else thought, because it's like I done made y'all money hand over fist. So I got the goods. Now, whether you appreciate the goods or not is your business. But
Yeah. I
I guess
understand that.
so it just became okay, yeah, this is not a place I don't feel where I'm being appreciated. And this is a place where, especially when they pull a stunt and mess with your money, I'm like, baby, I got to go. Because one thing I know for certain, and this journey has taught me, is money is common. You can get money from a lot of different ways and a lot of different places. So don't let a salary keep you from at least exploring your passion of entrepreneurship in whatever way that looks like, whether it's a side hustle forever or you eventually take it full time. But at the point where you know it's time for you to leave corporate because your spirit ain't right, you frustrated every day, you knocking it
Yeah.
out the park, but you're not getting the perks, you're not getting the reward for it, but you're steadily propping other people up. And sometimes you just cut your losses, because the reality is you can always go back to that. Like since
True.
I left corporate, it'll be 2 years ago at the end of April. And since I left, like the day I left, I've had many people contact me about jobs, including my former employers. They may watch this video and be like, you know what, we really messed up. You did, but because I know you're watching. But But I say all that to say it's a blessing that my work was at the caliber that it was, that I can go back if I ever need to go back for whatever reason. But you got to bet on yourself at some point. So I would say if life dictates, like it did for me, that hey, it's time for me to try something else, then try something else. If your business is already profitable and you want to try something else, try something else. Try something else. I have even met people straight up who hadn't even started their business, quit their jobs, and then jump straight into the deep end. And that works for some people too. And I'm never going to discount the fact that if you're a person who is a sink or swim person, that may be your thing too. I'm not going to
Correct.
discount it. That's not for me, because I got bills and mortgages. Hello.
Hmm.
But
That makes sense.
you can do it.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Because
So what
sometimes
would you
build
go
a
ahead?
cadence and we don't even realize it. That's all I'll say
Yeah.
about that. Yeah.
So what would you say though, from your perspective, from a strategy perspective, right? So you talked about, from a financial perspective, it's really up to how you define success. For you, it's like if I pay the mortgage and the lights on, it's good. For others, is I got to make $1 million in the first year, which I'm gonna tell you is gonna hurt your feelings every time, unless you
You're gonna be
already
hurt.
got $1 million client, you got a contract waiting on you that's gonna do that. It just really doesn't work that way. But what would you tell someone about building a strategy to start a company? What are the things they need to do or they should think about now before they leave their 9 to 5?
I would say first thing you got to do is shift your mindset. You have to spend money to make money. Sometimes because we don't want to spend money, we just trudge through things in the dark and
Mm-hmm.
waste time, and we also waste money. So the
Yep.
first thing is shift your mindset to I have to spend money to make money. The first thing I would say, invest in a business coach. And a business coach that's literally going to not just coach you on operational stuff like say I would. I'm not for somebody who's like going from scratch. I'm for somebody who's up and running, trying to optimize, right?
Yeah.
But if you're starting from scratch, get with a reputable business coach. If you want a referral, I'll refer you to mine. that will literally start you from your why and your ideal and take you to an offer, right? Take you to a product launch, right? Take you to some definitive endpoint. I'm not
Yeah.
talking about taking you to getting your LLC. That is easy. You can go on legal
Quick,
today, put in
quick.
your information and get an LLC. I'm not talking
Yeah.
about. I'm talking about someone who's going to sit down with you and give you some strategies and techniques so that you don't waste time muddling in the dark. I am smart enough, I know that I probably could have put together an offer, figured out who my target customer was, and did all that stuff myself. However, it would have taken me way longer than the 6-month business accelerator program that I got into, right? It would have taken me probably a couple of years because I didn't know what I didn't know, and I was going to be researching as I went along. And so if you have the means, you know, get you a business coach. Like, let that be your first business business. And the good thing about it is you can write it off.
Yep, you can.
You know, so that's definitely where I definitely would start. And number two, from the financial side, and some, you know, this may be controversial, consult your tax agent. But before you leave, whatever your 9 to 5 is,
Consult your tax agent, sorry.
listen, either have you a savings account somewhere, or if you've already gotten your LLC paperwork done, open up a business account. One of the things that I did have a savings account stored away that I had been squirreling money to for years. I used to call it my go to hell account, right? And that's what I used to straight start my business with. But if what I would have done if I had known this and had really thought about this, I found out well after I started my business, is I would have gotten my LLC well like a year or so in advance and opened up a business account and then started a direct deposit from my 9 to 5 to that account. And I say that for two reasons. One, that's money that it's not coming out of my bucket of money, right? That's coming out of my paycheck. And it's like out of sight, out of mind. If I move it there, it's there, right? But number two, if you're someone who's eventually going to need loans and business credit, having that as a trade line, and that's probably a more advanced conversation, going into your business account is helpful, right? Because it cuts the time it's going to take you to build those trade lines so you can build business credit and get business loans that are not like $5,000 loans. Like we're talking about 50,000, 100,000, 250,000, $1 million loans, right? So that's one thing I would have done, but definitely start squirreling away some money. When I left corporate, I had about, I guess, half of my salary squirreled away. And I'm not telling y'all how much I was making, but so it was a solid.
They can do the math.
Yeah, it was a solid. Listen, it was a solid amount because I knew I still wanted to live life, right? I didn't want to feel deprived. But I knew I had things I had to take care of. I have my homes. I helped out with my parents. At that time, I was still helping out with my aunt before she passed. I had responsibilities. And I said, I want to at least have 12 months of living expenses. Now, that may be a lot for most people, but at least 6 months. And and this is something, please hold on to this. If the 6 months of savings you have solely only covers where you're living, then at least have that. Because what you don't want to be worried about while you're trying to build a business is how you're going to pay rent and how you're going to meet your mortgage.
Yeah.
Because here's the secret. Can I tell a secret, Felicia?
Tell a secret. Tell the people.
Here's a secret. When you first start a business, you may not be able to pay yourself as the owner of the business in the beginning of your business.
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
It takes time. And a lot of people don't realize that. They think, oh, I'm making money, I can just pay myself. Stop. Like, you're going to have vendors. If you have a product-based business, hands got to be greased, baby, before you get your money, right? If you're a service-based business like me, you may want to have a certain amount of funds put aside for payroll before you just started emptying out the account, because you're going to have operational expenses. You're going to have travel expenses. You're going to have expenses related to software you need, or equipment you need, or if you got to fly to meet your clients, you got to fly to this event. Like, you don't immediately start out making money. You start out making money, but you don't immediately start out being in a position where you can consistently pay yourself, right?
Yeah.
So you definitely want to have some money squared away. Yeah.
Wow. So that's the strategy. Now the person's made this transition though. So like you've made the transition. Typically in a 9 to 5, you have a schedule, right? You kind of know what you're going to do. You know what time you're going to get up. But now it's day one. You're an entrepreneur. Everything's on you. Time management and discipline.
Yes.
Talk about it.
So one of the reasons I think people struggle with entrepreneurship is not because they don't have clients, not because they don't have a good product or service. It's because they lack discipline and execution and consistency. So with the discipline, no one is waking me up to get up and get on this computer, right? Like I no longer have 4 a.m. meetings that somebody is waiting on me to get on to start their day. So you have to make your own schedule. The beauty of entrepreneurship, though, is you can make your schedule whatever works best for you. Like
Yeah.
I no longer work from 4 to midnight. I no longer work from 7:30 to 6:30. Like that is not, I don't do that no more because what I know for myself is I'm not a morning person. Hello.
Mm-hmm.
I do my best work later in the evening. So one of the good joys of entrepreneurship is you get to make your own time schedule. And then whatever you make it, you stick to it. For example, for me, my alarm goes off at 7:30 every day. And
Mm-hmm.
from 7:30 to 10:30, I'm doing my meditations. I maybe clean up around the house. At 8:30, that's my time to work out because I want to keep myself healthy. I'm running errands if I need to run to the bank or run to the post office. I'm taking care of all of that because at my core hours are 10 to 6 every day. And at 10:30, I have an alarm that's going off on my computer to remind me to do an essential task that I do every single day. Now, that may not work for everybody, right? Some people may enjoy getting up at 5 a.m. because you got to get up before your kids. Yeah. Whatever works for you, but whatever it does, stick to it. And then once you figure out what your core hours are going to be, identify what your power hours are. My power hours within my core hours is usually from 12 p.m. to 4 p.m. That's the time of the day when my brain is really firing off on all cylinders and I'm like laser focused. I can lock in on anything and ignore everybody. It could be a tornado whirling around here and it won't even bother me. It just whirl around me, right? But understand what that is because that's where you want to put those tasks that really require you to zone out on. And even though, I have a home office, I also have a virtual office I can go to. I have my headphones on in here sometime, even if I'm here by myself, which makes no sense. But it's really just because I don't want to be, even though I may have a radio going in the background, just to have
Distracted.
some noise, I don't want to be
Yeah.
distracted by the cars or the train or anything. And then thirdly, with your schedule, actually give the tasks you have to do a place on your calendar, on your digital calendar. And if you like me, I see clients 5 days a week. I only see them for certain things on certain days. Like if I'm doing a speaking engagements call, it's only on certain day. If I'm doing strategy sessions, that's only on Wednesday and Thursday, in case y'all want to book one. If I'm meeting with other small businesses to talk about collaborating on, government contracts, I'm doing it on Mondays and Fridays. But whatever it is, make sure that you stick to it. And then the rest of the time on your schedule, whether it's doing your social media or working on proposals or doing business development or working on product, give it a time on your schedule. Like I only see people like take calls from 1 to 6 p.m. because the other times I literally have it blocked out for business development, for inbox management, for content development, for whatever else I have everything blocked off. And if I have a day where I don't have as many client calls, then I'm giving that extra time, giving it a purpose. And that's how you not only stay on focus, but you build discipline into your entrepreneurial life. So
That's awesome. That's awesome. And that's that's good because that's the discipline piece, right? Because I know a lot of people who challenge is challenged with, okay, now what do I do? Who's
yeah,
going to tell me what am I going to do? That's also why if you're going to go in entrepreneurship, you really have to know that you have it in you to be disciplined and to create a structure that works for you. The whole, you see online people just chilling and they're on the yacht and they're kicking it and all. That's not real life.
no.
Entrepreneurship is a grind.
Yes,
It's a
it's
lot of
no
work.
one. It's no
Yeah.
one. And then, can I give you one tip for that?
Mhm.
If you're somebody who has a challenge with assigning your task a time, we have a beautiful invention called artificial intelligence. Use ChatGPT to lay out your day. Break out what you need, what your work is into categories, and ask ChatGPT to make your schedule
That's awesome.
using these categories, and you want the schedule to run from whatever time to whatever time. And if there's certain days you only, you have certain things, like say you'd have a physical product and you want to do shipping on Mondays, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays, tell it that, and then have it make you a schedule. Just try that. I did that one day just as an exercise, but just to see what it would do, because I was going to suggest it to one of my small business clients. And I was amazed at how it added even more efficiency into my day. And I gave it a very detailed prompt because I already had a schedule, that I was working to that worked well for me, but I just wanted to see how it could improve on it. And one thing I found that it does is it sees waste where we see slack time. We see things. So it's really helpful just to try that. I mean, try it for
Oh no, that's interesting you said that, because this morning I did it for my mom. I was trying to figure out a schedule for her physical therapy, and I was like, I asked chat, to your point, very specific things. We have to do these 4 things, and it broke it out by segments: morning, evening, and it's structured. And I thought to myself, maybe I should try this for me. but yeah, it's amazing what'll come out. It's a time hack for everybody.
Everybody, try it now while you're listening to this. Try it.
No. You want to listen to us first.
Oh, sorry. Here I go.
You want to finish. Listen, we at the end anyway. Dr. Cristi is going to give us her key takeaways, the 3 things she wants everybody to remember. Then you can go to chat. You can go talk to chat and ask her all the questions you want to talk to her. You want to ask her. So, Dr. Cristi, what are 3 things you want to leave with anybody who is considering making a transition?
I would say 1, just start. I said time will never be perfect. Waiting on things to be perfect in your life, waiting for your kids to grow up, waiting for your husband to stop getting on your nerve, waiting on you to get a husband, waiting on whatever you feel like you need to wait on before you start this, it will never happen. And let me tell you what, not to say you won't have family and all that. What I'm saying is that time just don't work like that. It'll never be the perfect time to start a business. And if you wait on perfection, you'll never start. So just start. So that's number 1. Number 2, especially for those of us out there who are high achievers, who are type A personalities, who always on point, boop, 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 like me and Miss Felicia. And my business coach told me this, and it was transformational for me. Learn to be okay with your B+ effort. When you're used to everything having to be just chef's kiss perfect, it's hard when you're starting entrepreneurship if everything has to be perfect before you launch it. If every social media piece has to be just exact, you'll never be on social media.
I know, that's right.
Like if every business ideal you have for a product or a service or whatever, it has to be, it will never happen. So be okay with your B+ effort, because your B+ effort, particularly if you are an overachiever now in your 9 to 5, if you're a high impact employee, if you're a type A personality, if you strive for excellence as your operating system, your B+ effort is A+++ compared to your competitors. I'm just saying, it is like, it's apples and bananas. And then number 3, be okay with pivoting. Even when you're starting out. I've been in business full-time now 2 years. I'm going through some pivots now. I was talking to some entrepreneurs a few weeks ago at the NASP conference, and this is why it's on my spirit so heavy too, because somebody came up to me and said, "Oh, Dr. Cristi, I feel like I got to pivot, and I feel like I failed in my business." And I had to say, no. Pivoting is survival. Pivoting is survival, and get comfortable with that, because the environment may change. Your target audience may change. Hell, you may change, right? And you want your business to survive, you may have to pivot, because maybe instead of focusing on 1 or 2 revenue streams, you need to expand out to 4 or 5. Maybe the target audience that you really wanted to serve is not the target audience you should be serving, but there's one over here that's completely neglected that you have a solution for, right? Maybe your product needs to be tweaked a little bit. And so you can't fire it to, but this is my thing. Well, we got 1 million t-shirt entrepreneurs, right? T-shirt man. Everybody got a different t-shirt, but it's something that makes my t-shirt man special to me. It's like t-shirt. So, and that's because he's figuring it out, and you pivot. So be okay with pivoting. It is okay. It's not failure. Pivot don't equal failure. Pivot equals survival. So that'll be my 3 things.
Love that. That is good stuff. So tell the people how they find you, how they connect with you, all the things.
Okay, all the things. I'm gonna keep this quick. I'm gonna show y'all a little card. Oh, we can't see it. There
Oh,
you go. So follow me on social media. I'm on Instagram at Alyse, ALYSE _engineering, on LinkedIn at Alyse-engineering. I'm even on Facebook, I guess, at Alyse
kind of.
engineering.
Not
Go
really.
to well, let me say, it's stuff out there on Facebook. I don't necessarily monitor it, but I will say this to you. It's because that's not what my target audience is. So that's a whole other conversation about
Correct.
your industry
Correct.
with target audience. My website is www.alyse-engineering.com. And once again, Alyse is spelled ALYSE. You can also shoot us an email at hello@alyse-engineering.com. But yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for sharing all the gems.
Thank you for
Guys,
letting me
make sure
know.
no problem. Make sure that you connect with Dr. Cristi on all the social media platforms. Follow her. I'm sure, like she said, she's open if you want to do some sessions just to consult. I'm sure if you have more questions, or you are already a small business and you're listening, because some of our listeners are already entrepreneurs and you're looking to level up your business. You read her bio, all kinds of things on productivity. She's really good at what she does. I think Cristi was a Lotus Station before Lotus Stations really knew that was a thing. So
and I
please
do work with small businesses, even though in addition to what I do with corporate and government agencies and nonprofits, I do strategy sessions with small business owners. And I also have a newsletter that I have out on mailing for small business owners that has resources, grant opportunities, and that's free. I just give it to because I like sharing what I learn. I don't gatekeep. So yeah.
That is awesome. Well, thank you guys so much. Make sure that you are following at Join the Climb on LinkedIn and Instagram. And until next time, I want you guys to keep climbing and keep striving. And I'll see you next week. Thanks for tuning into the Climb podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review us on wherever you listen to podcasts. For updates and behind-the-scenes content, make sure you're following us on Instagram and LinkedIn at Join the Climb. Until next time, keep climbing and keep thriving, sis. See you next episode.